Welcome back to the Close Mode Podcast. I'm Dan Sanchez, and I'm joined with my co-host, Brian Dietmeier. And usually it's Brian hosting the show, but every once in a while, Brian lets me steal the host role as the producer of the show, usually on the back end, and lets me in front of the camera again. So, Brian, thanks for letting me host this show every once in a while. I'm excited today because we're talking about a topic that's becoming more and more that's near and dear to my heart around AI. Not just about AI, though. Today, we're going to talk about AI versus IA. I know it's kind of confusing. AI, and then you swap them around, IA. The first time Brian told me about it, and you were the first person to tell me about it, Brian, I was like, wait, come again? What? IA? What have we done? Marketers are playing with us again. And I'm a marketer, so I can say that. Like, marketers screw around with us, trying to flip things, in tech all the time. So I was like, okay, what have marketers done this time? What kind of category weird spin? But honestly, the more you've explained it to me, the more it's become a helpful concept for me to navigate AI, because AI is this like massive thing that's been changing everything in business. All the accounting firms are talking about it. It's certainly changing my world and marketing, and it's starting to change sales. But without further ado, Brian, can you kind of give us a breakdown of the difference between AI and IA? What do they stand for?
Other than the two letters being switched.
Those two letters, yeah.
Other than those two letters. And you're right. It's not just a marketing buzzword, and I suppose it might help to, some of this discussion we're having is things are changing so quickly. And so for sales leaders and consultants like myself, like we need to be current. Right. So I'm hoping that some of this allows, people who might listen to be a little current. So it's sort of definitional, but we are on the phone. As you know, I run a tech startup that's heavily laced with AI. And we were talking to an AI tech investor the other day, and he asked us, how long before your thing has efficacy? And it was fascinating to me. So there's two situations that have come up. That was one. And I said, that's interesting. So, the usual answer when you don't have the answer right away is follow up with a question. So, it's like, hey, person, what do you mean by that question? He's like, well, you train an LLM and you have to get, mass amounts of data, and then the machine has to learn, and it's a while before the thing gets smart and delivers something. And I was like, our stuff delivers something on day one. So the efficacy argument is what got me thinking about it. And then we were talking to another customer that said, oh, we can't do AI. Like our systems are a mess. Like we don't have access to the massive amounts of data that you need, right, for the thing to learn. And so those two things sent me back to our CTO and said, hey, Jason, what is it we're building, right? We have a .ai URL. Are we AI? And I hope for anyone who's listening, like you've struggled with this a little bit, which is, so when does it become AI? What is AI? And
Right.
And he said to me at the time that, we're actually kind of building something that doesn't exist. And so that's what got us on this search for, what is this thing, and what do we call it? And lo and behold, thankfully, one of my partners found this Gartner article that just came out a couple months ago that talked about the demand for intelligent applications, IA, is growing stronger. And the way Gartner defines it is that AI is this very, very broad thing. And there's goodness in this, right? It's very broad. It can do a lot of things. It can solve a lot of problems. It can provide you lots of data. Where IA, intelligent applications, go after a very specific and highly recurring problem with a very precise process to solve that problem. So that at the highest, and I would add that Jason, our CTO, says it's modern software that's enabled by AI. So it does have artificial intelligence in it, but it's that combo of, we think of it as the skeleton in the brain. The skeleton is the coding and the modern software, and the brain is the AI. And when you bring those two things together to go after a really specific problem with a very precise process-oriented solution, that's where IA sings.
I was, as you said it, I was like, is it intelligent application? And I just Googled that it's intelligent augmentation, which is funny because it's different than the word that I had in my head even starting this podcast.
Well,
I'm like, is it intelligent automation? truth be told, all three of those things kind of mean the same thing.
Yes,
We're making
I'm sorry, Dan. Go ahead.
it's using it's using it's using artificial intelligence or a light version of it in order to just make the automatic things, the applications we're building smarter. Because before, with just algorithms and just programmatic code, there were limitations to what we
Yes.
could do. Little gaps all over the place, and we try to code our way around it. But with AI, it smooths over a lot of those limitations. It makes automated processes just a little bit more sophisticated.
Yeah, and
And that's the whole point. It's
it
very different from what some people are projecting AI, like what it's going to be really capable of in just a short while. But it is intelligent augmentation, but essentially automation applications.
Yeah,
It all
it
works.
depends on who you read. The Gartner, I was calling it intelligent automation, and then the Gartner thing, I like intelligent applications. But you're right; they're all the same thing. It's a combination of the
Yeah.
skeleton and the brain working together, so the brain can then learn over time and produce more insights over time. But to me, the big issue, what we're seeing as we're building out an IA solution, is the efficacy on day one. It doesn't require massive amounts of data. It requires what you put into it, and then it can learn over time. But it can be providing value to users on day one.
Yeah, it's huge. And that's what I'm even finding with my tiny little AI applications that I use for marketing, even producing this show. It's providing value right away, which is why I'm so stoked about this technology, because I've been in the tech game and I've been using all kinds of little automations and CRMs and marketing automation platforms, even sales automation platforms, to just speed things up and automate repetitive tasks, make things more efficient, even more effective, as you're able to send the right thing to the right person at the right time and then load the right sales rep with the right data at the right time. It's like, it's what we're trying to do. But now AI just makes it so much more efficient and effective. And now having that line split between the two, it's essentially having we're beginning the process of categorization for a new technology field, right?
Yes.
So it's all AI, but there's different levels of it. So now that you kind of have defined like what intelligent applications look like, what then is AI? Is it all the things that need a lot more data to do, or is it broader than that?
Yeah. I and you and I did a podcast with one of our advisors on defining, and I would say that the CEO of our institutional investor who invests in tech and AI argues that's a gray definition as well. And there's a lot of people, I've been hearing this language lately. So ChatGPT, right? We all know about that. That's artificial intelligence. And there are a lot of people these days I've heard they're putting a wrapper around ChatGPT and calling that
Yeah.
AI. And it kind of is, it is a large language model AI, I believe so. Do you have to train a large language model? Does the thing learn over time, and go to places that we didn't expect it to as it's learning over time? Yeah, for sure. But it's pretty wide ranging. But at the low end, a lot of people are wrapping some simple services around ChatGPT and calling them AI. And I suppose that's fair, but those are reasonably easy to replicate. Where IA, the thing I like about that is that it's in. You and I have talked to a lot of guests about context, especially when it comes to enabling reps, like the context of our business. What product are we selling when we're going up against this competitor in this industry vertical? That and in this geo, it's really being able to get down to that contextual level. Again, a very precise problem with a very precise solution. And that's where the efficacy comes in. That again, there's real goodness in the broadness of AI in general. But I think for most of us who are trying to get more production out of our sales teams and get more quality production, that I would keep my eye open for these intelligent applications, because I think that's what a lot of sales leaders and revenue enablement leaders are going to be able to be looking to for some really precise solutions to problems.
That's the thing that's most exciting to me about all this AI stuff, is that it can actually analyze, it can think about things and put it out. And what I'm finding is if you give it the right information, just enough of it, not too
Yeah.
much of it, but if you give it just enough of the right information and then essentially create a model, and when I say model, that sounds fancy, it's really step-by-step instructions of what to do with the information, right? It's like, hey, take this data set over here, take these principles over here, and then take this exact scenario and then slow, like the common prompt is like, take your time, think slowly, and handle these and think through this in this steps.
Yeah. Yeah.
Essentially things that humans used to do, but now AI can do it, and it can do it more reliably because it can do it the same way every single time ish and just do it faster, which before wasn't too big of a problem until you're dealing with dozens of sales cases and multiple points where you need analysis done. Now it just speeds up the whole process, and it can give you feedback that wasn't before available because it can remember the training better than you can.
Yeah, there's a number of things there. It's a lot of AI is being used for efficiency today, right? As you say, speed up, speed up, speed up. And I believe from trying to get as smart as I can on AI, that's a lot about effectiveness, right? It's putting that really lasered in data in front of reps that helps them win. And there's also a lot of guardrails. If I think about the way we're building IA, there's literally we if you ask it to bake a cake or tell you where the best fishing holes are, it's going to tell you all I'm here to do is help you close a deal and a higher quality deal, right? So
Yeah.
it's really pulling that in. And one of my partners, Scott, turned me onto this book recently about racing boat team. And the gentleman who led the racing boat team, anytime they tried to do anything, he would ask, "Will it make the boat go faster?" And he likened that to like anything you're going to put into an IA application. Will it make the boat go faster? Our language for that is it going to help someone close a deal? Is it going to help you execute your go-to-market strategy? Are we going to get higher quality deals out of it? Don't put it in there unless it makes the boat go faster. And if a rep is asking a question that's outside of making the boat go fast, it pulls them back in and said, this is the precise purpose here. And so this intelligent application is getting super smart on just closing deals and then in context, closing your kind of deals against your kind of competitors, against your customer needs. And that's what I love. I love the lasered in focus of this thing.
I love that it focuses on not just making it efficient, but also more effective over time
Yes.
as it begins to learn from your deals specifically. And I think that's where the real competitive advantage comes with any of these AI or IA applications, right? Is not just that it works like out of the box. It's that the sooner you start doing it, the more it takes time to learn about the nuances of your organization, your current sales staff, the tendencies of the sales staff and your sales managers to give smarter and smarter guidance over time. And that's the most exciting part, is that the early adopters are going to have a huge advantage because 2 years from now they're going to have more data
Yeah.
to work with, and the AI and the applications are just going to be able to give better feedback, better forecasting, and ultimately help them close more deals.
Yeah, and I think this effectiveness and efficiency thing is really important. There's a lot of algorithms built into AI that'll look at your pipe, look at your CRM, and come back with tasks. Right? These are high value tasks that should happen next. And I think that's all really helpful, and that's the efficiency part. And maybe I'll even write an email for you, kind of thing. But if that's what people should be doing, which is very helpful. You've got 400 or 500 salespeople and 4,000 or 5,000 deals in the funnel to be able to look at those and go, look, on these, this 30% of these deals, we need to be getting to this next step. I think where IA gets us is this told you what to do. I'm now going to specifically coach you on how to do it.
Yep.
Provide the data and the insight that you need to actually do that thing. And I think that's the next frontier. And I certainly don't want to present myself as an expert in this. We are just learning about it recently, and we're building it before we even knew what it was. But yes, the paint's still wet on me. It's still wet on everybody else that's playing with this.
Everybody. I think the fun part to think about is that it is an efficiency play, but out of the efficiency comes the effectiveness sometimes.
Yes.
For example, over in the marketing world, I just did a podcast with a guy who essentially automated the crap out of something that hardly any companies ever actually do, but everybody knows they need to do. Like everybody knows they need to survey their customers, analyze their data, and then analyze all the analysis across every single one. But when you're getting hundreds of these every week,
Yeah.
like you have to hire a full-time person just to read the surveys, especially if you're getting qualitative input like actual text answers and not just multiple choice, which is always better. But it was consuming his time just to do it, but that's where the insights came from, and those were real insights from real people that drove their marketing plan, and that's how the company stays and stays big.
Yeah.
From actually talking to customers. We all know that's the plan. Anybody worth their salt in sales or marketing knows that talking to the customers is the sugar, is the magic, right?
Yep.
You got to use their words to sell them stuff. But nobody takes the time to do what they already need. They know they need to do because it's too time consuming.
Well,
It takes too much time. But now with
yeah.
AI, not anymore, because AI can do the analysis really well. And then it can go back and analyze its analysis. If you're analyzing every single survey coming in or whatever, you can now input that into a doc and then create a summary of the summary weekly, so you can see how things are changing over time. And all of a sudden, something that was like extremely time prohibitive, you can now do, and you're armed with better data to do it. And that's when it starts to really make you more effective as an organization.
Yeah. What you made me think of is Jim Dickey, who's one of our advisors, and many people know him in the sales space from CSO Insights, his days there. But he put out a report a while back that said reps are 9th out of 10 places that buyers go for insight into their buy. And you made me think of this when you were talking about, we all know it's good to be talking to customers. In today's world, that it's not just talking to them, right? Because it's when we're 9th out of 10 places they go for insight, we've got to be leveraging this technology to give reps stuff that those people value, to move them further up the food chain in terms of, what are you bringing to me beyond simply, doing a demo of your product? What are you bringing to me that's insightful and it's going to help me make this decision? And so I think that's the next generation. I believe that's where IA might lean in a little bit more, is to give tools and weapons and insight where reps can be more prescriptive, right? Coming to buyers, and buyers want that. They've said in the same study, bring that stuff to me, I'll talk to you. But right now you're 9th out of 10. You're almost dead last because you're still bringing the stuff we don't need reps to be walking brochures anymore, right? Because that can all be found easily. Yeah. In fact, most of the buyers, by the way, most of the buyers said I think their number one source was their peers. If I'm going to buy something, I'm going to go to my peers. They're going to give me more insight on how to make this evaluation, how to align it with my use case. And we need to start thinking about technology bringing those sort of insights to reps. So now, you're coming to me, or I'm bringing those insights or that prescriptive advice to you.
What would you recommend to sales leaders wrestling with AI, what to do about it? What are some practical steps they can take to begin narrowing down how IA or AI could be a solution to their problems?
Yeah, I've actually asked a lot of sales leaders that question, and I'm going to harken back to what many of them said. I asked them the question of, what are you doing? How people that were forward thinking and really embracing the AI world. And as lame as this sounds, it's starting for anyone who is brand new. So that I'm going to answer your question in the context of people who are relatively new. It's starting to get super comfortable with ChatGPT, looking at almost every function you're doing and finding out how can you use it either as a leader, or how can your reps use it to get smarter, faster, and bring more insight. And what many of them said, which I think is really right on, is that ChatGPT is not like searching Google. It's not the same Google search string. You have to get good at the prompts and the way you're asking AI the question. And my CTO said to me about a year ago, when we were building prompts for AI, that you have to stop talking to it like a machine. You have to start talking to it like the smartest person you know. And that's not how we talk to Google when we're doing a search, right? Or Safari. It's a different kind of a search. So yeah, think about almost anything you're doing. I mean, I explained our thing because it's new to ChatGPT the other day and asked it to explain it back to me more cleanly and simply, and it did. So everyday task, you're getting ready to go talk to a customer. How can reps use it? But there is that notion of how do you prompt it? What questions do you ask it? And that's the key to getting great results. So yeah, I would start there, and for anyone who's really new.
Can I offer a hot take on that?
I wish you would.
Because I was like, going to move forward. I'm like, wait, he hasn't said yes yet. it's I've heard a lot of people say experiment with ChatGPT, or more like go play with it.
Yeah.
A few months ago in December, I I had already been in ChatGPT since it came out in just like this December before, like a whole year, and I'm like, yeah, but how do I know I'm making progress? How
Yes.
do I know I'm making progress? I think I have an answer to that question now because
Okay.
I struggled with it. I'm like, well, I've been dabbling with it and using it for some cool things, but I'm like, how do you know you're making progress and playing with it the right way?
Sure.
And what I've learned is what you really need to do is think about it less like playing, play with it at first. Like, everybody with a new tool, you kind of test it and see what it does. What you really need to do is start experimenting with it to find where it can go and where it can't go. The people who experiment and play with it enough right now in mass, trying it for all different kinds of scenarios in your role, are going to be the ones who lead with it in the future.
Yeah.
Because there's all these tools out there for AI, but ChatGPT is like a core of like you'll learn the core of what AI can and can't do because all the
Yeah.
tools are pulling from that. Like you have to find its limitations and where it can excel, and it's not linear. Like just because it can do a formulaic math problem doesn't mean it can count. Really weird. Like you have to understand that because I've literally gone and prompted only ask me one question at a time, and then it does two, and I'm like, hey, did you forget the one question rule? They're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, so sorry.
Yep.
And then it asked me two questions again. I'm like, what the heck?
Yep.
It's a known problem with GP AI problems because it's a very creative and word driven process. So numbers, you're like, wait, now we're going. It
Yep.
has to translate number your ask for numbers to words back to code, which is numbers. So it's like it's a weird thing that it has. There's
Yeah.
known limitations of it. You can go and just Google prompting guides and people will give you some of the limitations and things they've learned, but you have to figure it out for your own role. Like,
Yep.
can it create training? Can it create a coaching plan for this one rep you're having a very specific problem with? I don't know. Ask it, tell it, give it all the context and
Yep.
nuances. See if it can build a 3-week training plan for it. Who's this sales rep you have on a performance improvement plan now?
Yeah.
Find all
And
the
and
stuff.
it's
Can it create
yeah.
landing pages for a new sales rep that you need to hire? Can it
Yep.
create a onboarding plan for this new enterprise sales rep account? Try it. The only way you're going to find out is by experimenting.
Well,
And the
and
more
and
you
when you
experiment and learn about what it can and can't do across
yeah.
all the different functions of your craft, that's where you start to really learn.
Yep. Yeah, and I think experimenting is the right word, and it's experimenting on, hey, I have this problem. Can it help with this problem? And it's also experimenting. I'm going to go back to the prompts, the way you ask it the questions. If you
Yep.
don't get the right answer the first time, it doesn't mean that it doesn't know and it can't help you. You may like I just learned something the other day that and there's more than ChatGPT, right? There's other models out there, but let's just talk about in general that function, that it's designed to people please, which is interesting because one of our prompt engineers put something in there in the prompt to say you're going to be penalized if you get this wrong. And I laughed at that prompt, and that's where he came back. He's like, no, it's designed to be a people pleaser. And I was like, yeah, but you don't have to threaten it. Maybe you ask it
Yeah.
nicely, right? And it literally is those kinds of things that you get the same, you get the same reaction.
Yeah.
You give it an attaboy, and it likes to work for you. It's fascinating to me.
Yeah. And we're still learning a lot. It's not always intuitive, like dealing with a computer. Like people even figured out like by asking it to do a task as if it's in the month of May, it performs better than if it's in the month of October, oddly.
Yeah.
There's all these like little weird nuances to it. And of course, the nuances change over time because the AI is changing over time. So you had to
Yep.
keep learning and growing with it. But still trying to find, again, like you said, the problems, but also the opportunities. Like you might discover things that you never considered doing that because it was impossible before, that you're like, huh, now that I've been solving problems with it, what now is possible in this little area of my job? If you keep pushing the limits, you will be the go-to person for AI, and you will better understand how to bring in AI tools
Yep.
because you'll better understand how they're working too. You'll have the context for all those AI tools like Close Strong and others, because you'll have been spent more time playing with ChatGPT. It's an
You
odd
mean
thing, but it
the
works.
the close strong IA tool. So yeah, my goal today, and when you and I talked about this up front, was just, hey, we've just stumbled on this new definition, right, of this more precise process oriented solution that goes after really precise problems. And I feel like any of us that are in enterprise sales as leads or consultants or anybody else, as quickly as things are changing, we should be up to date. And if you do the search on Gartner Intelligent Applications, that report will come up, and it's a really good sort of basic outline of why demand is growing for those particular solutions. So I think it'll be interesting for anyone who's looking at different applications to find out, what is that base model, and our people, it seems like, I think for a lot of us in sales, IA applications are going to be much more drilled in for what we're doing.
It's a huge it's not a baby step. It's a major step on our
Yeah.
way to building fully loaded AI applications. Intelligent applications are going to be the first major step that organizations make towards before AI takes over their whole business or something. Who knows what the next step is after that? But
it's funny. And an investor
steps are certainly clear.
An investor said to me once on a call that software ate the world and AI is eating software. And that, like, whenever I think about scale of this shift, it's like I go back to his comment, and I was like, yeah, that's a pretty powerful statement.